Let's add and subtract complex numbers. So first, what is a complex number? Well, a complex number written in standard form is known in the form of a plus bi, where a and b are real numbers and I is the imaginary unit. So the bi part is the imaginary part and a is the real part. So when you think about a is just going to be a number, but because that I is attached to the B, we've got ourselves an imaginary part. Let's jump in. We're going to add the binomials 3 plus 2i plus negative 2 minus 7i. Now we have constants and we have terms with I. So really we want to think of these like terms. So if I rearrange these by the commutative property of addition, I have 3 plus negative 2. And then I also have 2i plus negative 7i. So if I put the 3 plus negative 2 together, I get positive 1. And 2i plus negative 7i is a negative 5i. So I can either write my answer as 1 plus negative 5i or 1 minus 5i. What if we have negative 3 minus 5i plus 6 minus 8i? Again, we have constants and terms with I, so we want to consider the like terms. If I rewrite this with my like terms next to each other, I get negative 3 plus 6 plus negative 5i plus negative 8i. Negative 3 plus 6 is going to give me 3, and negative 5i plus negative 8i, well, negative plus a negative gives me a smaller negative, so negative 13i. So we can write our answer as 3 plus negative 13i or 3 minus 13i. 2 plus negative 4 minus 3i. Well, now in that first piece, we don't have a binomial, we just have a monomial, but we still have like terms. So I have 2 plus negative 4, those are my real number terms, and then I just have the plus negative 3i. So I end up with 2 plus negative 4 is negative 2, and that minus, or the plus negative 3i comes down, so I could write that as negative 2 minus 3i. Let's move over to subtraction. Negative 3 plus 5i minus the binomial 6 minus 8i. Well, notice how that entire second binomial is being subtracted. So that's really like we need to distribute a negative 1 because we need to subtract every term inside. So this is the same as saying that we have negative 3 plus 5i minus 6 plus 8i, because a negative times a negative would give me a positive 8i. Now I can say, well, let's put my like terms together. So negative 3 minus 6 plus 5i plus 8i. Notice the sign in front of the number, it stays with. So the plus 5i, minus 6, those numbers move along. So I end up with negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9, 5i plus 8i is 13i. 5 minus 4i minus the binomial negative 3 plus 2i. Again, we want to distribute the negative for the second binomial. That gives me 5 minus 4i plus 3 minus 2i. Notice the sign of every number inside the parentheses in that second binomial, the sign is changed. So now when I think of my like terms and I put them together, I have 5 plus 3 minus 4i minus 2i. Combine those like terms, 5 plus 3 is 8. Negative 4i minus 2i gives me a negative 6i. And let's do just one more. Negative 9 minus 2i minus a negative 6i. Well, we're subtracting that second, that's actually a monomial. We're going to distribute the negative, so I get negative 9 minus 2i plus 6i. I only have one real number, so I have negative 9, and then negative 2i plus 6i gives me a positive 4i. And that is some examples of adding and subtracting complex numbers.